Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pivot Tables and Conditional Formatting with Microsoft Excel. Thank you for joining us today for this class. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the Zoom chat or unmute yourself to ask your questions. So we have here the handout that has been shared with you, and you can find it in the email. Also, it'll be available on the YouTube under the description of the video. It's gonna be there always, as long as the video exists. The handout is gonna be with the video. So the first thing we're gonna do is get the file. So if you wanna, you can do two things in this class. You can just watch and then use the video, the recording later on to follow through at your own pace. Otherwise, you can get the file, the Excel file, either from your email or from the handout, and do the exercise I'm gonna be doing the same time that I'm doing. So whatever is your learning style, I feel comfortable with following that. So to get the handout from the Excel file, the demo Excel file we're going to be using, you can just go to the handout, and then when you click on this, you just can click on it and it'll download to your it'll download down to there, to either to the bottom of your browser like it happens here, or it'll show you, depending on what browser you're using. I'm using Chrome, it'll open up. So we're gonna start with, as a tool that Excel offers as a way to keep consistent several tables. So if you have a table like this and you have several similar and you want to keep the same color palette, you might want to use formatting and let Excel format it so you don't have to do it on piecemeal. So for example, on this table that I have, it doesn't have any formatting. You can see it doesn't have any borders or colors. So I'm gonna just have Excel give me a rapid formatting. So I'm gonna click anywhere on the table, and then I'm gonna go to the Home tab and find what is the Styles group. And then I'm gonna click where it says Format as a Table. And then I'm gonna choose a color coding. If you are printing mono in a grayscale computer, you wanna print it out to give it to people, you might want to use the grayscale palette to make sure everything is visible. Otherwise, you can use other colors. So I'm gonna choose this color. Then it's gonna show here the range of the table. And if it has header, my table has headers. So I just click OK. And you can always change it later. And this is the format that is giving me. If you have another table, you can, for example, have this table and I want to use the same color formatting, the same color style. I just can go click anywhere on the table, and I'm going to click Format as a Table. And if I don't remember the exact one, I can go back into the design feature, the table larger. Oh, I have it on this size like that so you can see everything. You don't have to read what it says there. I just using the formatting. So I'll make it larger later, but I just want you to see what it looks like for the formatting. So that's why it's that size. So you can see all the columns. And so if I forget what is the design, I can go to the design tool. This tool, this tab here, is gonna show only when I have, when I'm clicking the table. So if I click out, the table design tool disappears. But if I click inside the table, I get this table tools design. So I'm gonna click on that tab, and then I'm gonna get all the features that are related with design of the table. And then I'm gonna, the one that is selected here is the one that is that I chose. So I can hover over, and it says table style medium 17. So I can go back to this table and choose the same one, format as a table, and then I can find the 17. There it is. And then it's asked me if it's the right selection. And then I click OK. And now this table just has the same color coordination than this table. So that's why, and the whole table has the format. So that's the way you can keep consistent, keep all your tables consistent. Also, it's much easier to do it this way than go piecemeal and choose the color for each row and the border for each column. Also, you get filters here. So you took the filter class, you know, you can filter. If you don't want those filters, you can go back and click on the table, go to the table design tool, and there is a filter box. So you can uncheck the filter box and then the filters disappear. Or if you want them back, you can choose again and they'll show up. So it's your choice. You can also uncheck the header row. So for example, if you don't have a header, the header is the first row. So you can uncheck it and then it goes away. I'm gonna get the filter out so you can see better. You can also change, if you don't like this color coordination, you can go back. You're gonna go inside the table and then you're gonna click on table styles and you can hover over the different styles and see how they look like. And like I say, if you are printing, you're better off printing on a grayscale, on the gray style, because that sometimes you do something like this when you print it out, and if you don't happen to print it on color, the gray version, the black and white version, is not going, maybe it's not going to be legible. So if you are printing, you might want to choose something like that so it can always be legible. The color coded, when it changes to grayscale, sometimes are not legible. And then if you don't want the formatting anymore, which is the formatting at different tools, but you want the color, only the color coordination, you can eliminate the formatting by click anywhere on the table tools design, and then you're gonna convert to range. And it's gonna ask you, do you wanna convert from table to normal range? You click yes. And now you have the color coordination, but you don't have all the features that that Excel table format does. And if you want it back, you can just go back here and choose it again. So this is just applying a color coordination. Yeah. So like I selected here, I go and I choose a table and I click OK. And then I didn't sort anything. It only added color and borders and that's it. Okay, so I just want to clarify, I didn't change anything. I just added color. You can take out those filters if you want. You're not modifying any data. That's a good question. I'm not modifying any data on that. So there is no, so I'm glad I clarified that. So I'm not modifying anything. And I'm not going to be modifying any of the data today. The class today, and that's an important question. I'm glad that it was asked, that there is no uh, change of any data. I'm just adding formatting. Even when we go and do the pivot table, there is no interaction with the data. The data intake, data stays the same all the time. So there is no change to data integrity. So now I'm going to do a conditional formatting. So the conditional formattings. So you just click anywhere on the table and you just do format as a table and then just choose at a table.
Okay, thank you.
And then if you don't want, because when you add the format, it adds a lot of other functions behind. For example, like you can add the filter button, you can add all these other choices. And there is other things that are outside the scope. So if you want to only have the color and remove all the other functions attached to the format, you can just go to convert to range and it goes away. So one thing is important. Right now, there is no tab for table. I have to formatting when this tab called Table Tools Design. If I click out, it disappears. If I click inside the table, I get this tab. This is an important feature that Excel has. And I just want to make you aware, because if you are out here and you are looking to change something on the table, you're not going to find the tab to change it. You have to go inside the table and then you're going to find the table tab. So I'm going to convert to range. Like I can show you here, it's the same way. So for example, if I go and I put the table formatting and then I don't want it anymore, I can click on the table, go to table design and convert to range. And then click yes. And then I selected all this. And on the home, I just click on the bucket, the fill color bucket, and put no fill. But when I do that, then the headers are in white. So I need to put it back in the same color. So I just put the font color.
Okay.
Or you can do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z until you get undo, undo, undo until you get the way it was before.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I'm sure there is a faster way that I did that. Maybe clear. Yeah, here, clear. So home, clear all. Well, that's clear all. So that's not we want clear formatting. So here, clear format, that's the way. So this is a much faster way that I did it before. Just go home, find the clear icon and clear format. It'll take all the color out. So that's another way to do it. And now I'm gonna do conditional formatting. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. The conditional formatting applies formatting to cells when the value of the cell satisfies certain criteria. It helps visualize data by using bars and colors and other icons. So we're gonna start. So for example, here, maybe you wanna see what are the top values that have of the sales people. So we have several salespeople here, and they have they have sold so much money in per month. So maybe we want to find the top 10% of those sales. So I'm going to select only the sales that have sales. And then I'm going to go home tab. Then I'm going to click on conditional formatting. And then there's going to be several options here. I'm going to go to the top and bottom rules and choose the top 10%. So then I'm going to choose top 10%. Then I'm going to select the color. So I'm going to put green, and then I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click out of the table. So stop being selected. And you will see now on the screen on green, only the values that are on the top 10% of the sales. So whoever the sales that got the highest 10% of all the data I have here are the only one in green. So you can easily pinpoint what salesman had a high performance in 1 month and what was the amount. I can also do the bottom 10%. So I can select this data, and you notice I'm not selecting the totals, because if I select the totals, it skew the calculation of the 10%. So I'm gonna go home, conditional formatting, top and bottom rules, and then I'm gonna do bottom 10%. And then I'm gonna choose red, and then I'm gonna click OK. So the red values are the lowest performance. So those are, it's not only gonna tell me the months that have the lowest performance, but also you can find the salesperson that had the lowest performance. And then you can also go back to the conditional formatting, and you don't have to select anything, and manage the rules. So you can go down here, manage the rules, and then you can add a new rule using this uh, wizard, which you saw is very complicated. That's why it's better to do it the way I just showed you. You can edit, you can click here, and then you can maybe choose another color or choose here, and you can delete or you can stop them for a while. You can also do current selection or the whole sheet. So you don't have to select only the data. You can do the whole sheet, and it's going to show you all the rules there. And then if you want to clear the rules, so I'm going to go here, conditional formatting, and I'm going to clear the rules for the entire sheet or for only the selection. So I'm just going to clear for the entire sheet. And there they are. So you can do that. And there are other icons you can do. For example, you can do arrows, conditional formatting, and you do their data bars, color scale, or you can do arrows. So that shows you what is going on here. If it's above average, if it's in average, if it's lower than average. So there are different options you can do. And you can also customize by greater than, and I can clear up all the rules and highlight maybe greater than the average. So you can also get that. So for example, I'm gonna zoom this a little bit more. I'm going to, for example, I just wanna know I want to get a visual trend of the data, so I can just choose only the sales. So these are the sales of the salesperson per month. I'm going to go to conditional formatting and have different options here. So the icon set, this is our icons. So you can choose the arrows, or you can choose, for example, this other icon. You can do stars. So for example, for the arrows, so the arrows will be if it's above average, if it's around the average, the middle, and this is like the top. So the lower average is like the top. This is not the best way to use this icon. I wouldn't recommend these icons to use in this data because it's not making much sense. You will use arrows if you want to see a trend that something maybe is decreasing compared to the previous month, but I just want to show you the options. But the combination of these icons in the data is not the best way. But if you want to clear it out, just click anywhere and you click conditional formatting, and then you can clear out the rules, clear rules, and then you can clear rules only for one cell or several that you select, or for the entire sheet. So I'm going to do the entire sheet, and then they're gone. So the best application here is to use the conditional formatting to use to the top 10%. And you can also do 5%, customize it to 5%. So that's also another option. So right now I can delete this one and I just gonna leave the 5%. And you see that only these are the top 5% performance. I just gonna clear out these rules and for the entire sheet. And now we're gonna do Sparklines. So Sparklines are trends. How do you use greater than in conditional formatting? So I just did one. So I just selected the data. Well, I didn't do one. Let me show you. So greater than, and then you just choose, this is the average. So Excel already calculated the average value of all the data that I selected, or you can just do greater than 400. And I'm going to choose another color, green. A lot more to dig into the conditional formatting. There is a lot of options like you see here. They can be very, very sophisticated or very simple. So you can just play around with it. Spark lines are trend lines that you can add. This is a perfect example of trend lines. So it's like instead of doing a sophisticated chart, you can just use a spark lines to do like a very condensed chart that is going to show the trend of data. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I need to make it a little smaller. So I'm going to go to the end of this row, and I'm going to move it here because sometimes the camera, it will cut the, if I go to the too much to the right, the camera will cut the image, the zoom camera. So I'm gonna go here, and this is a trend. So I'm gonna have different values per month. Then I'm gonna go insert. So this is another tab, insert. I'm gonna go all the way to the right, which says Spark Lines, and click line. And when it click line, ask me for the data range. So I select the data range. So right now I have B5 to M5. So that's the column B5 to M5. And then the location is showing up as O. And I'm gonna click OK. And then this is the spark line. And just have to resize this so you can see it. So this is the spark line. So the spark line is just a synthesis of the trend that is happening right here. And then I can use that to apply it for the rest of the rows. So I can do an autofill. I'm gonna hover to the right corner and then hold the mouse with the left finger on the left button. And I'm gonna hold it down and then let it go. And then you can see the spark line. Or you can also do a spark line for each one. Clear. So I can clear it and clear it. And this is the same thing. When I'm in the spark line, you see the spark line tab. If I'm out, you don't see it. So I'm gonna click on it and clear it. So to do it again, I just gonna go insert and the different ways you can do a column and different options. I'm gonna select the data and click OK. And then I have this, and you can either do it again like this and select it, or you can do the autofill. And then when you go inside the Sparkline, you have this, the tab, and you can choose different designs. You can change the colors. So different options you can try. You can put high point, low point, or you can change it to columns, win lose. You can edit the data. So you can change the colors too here. So there are different things you can do here. Okay, so I'm just gonna clear it here. I'm gonna clear so it goes away. So I think I hit by accident, oh no, December. Well, I hit a couple months too. So this one I wanted to hide. And then there is October here. Okay, so now we have more data. I have January, February, all the way to December. So I'm gonna go to the last column. It's always on the last column because it's gonna take the data to the left. Insert, and then I'm gonna go spark lines, line, and then I'm gonna on data range, I'm gonna select the data. And then location range is the location that I'm showing here, which is 05. And then I'm gonna click OK. And when you click OK, you get the spark line. So try and see if it works. And then once you have one, you can either do it again, or you can just do the autofill and drag it down, and then it's applied to all of them. And then when you click inside on the spark line, you're gonna get the menu, and then you can change it. You can change the color or add other features. And the handout has also instructions how to do that. So are we ready for pivot tables? Yes, that's the start of today. And I know a lot of people have been asking about pivot tables. So let's go for it then. So on the spreadsheet, And I'm gonna change this to, I'm gonna take the table formatting because I don't want it. And I also don't want color. So I'm gonna change the color and then there. So, so this is a table that we're gonna turn into a pivot table. So what is a pivot table? Pivot tables are used to summarize, analyze, explore, and compare data. You have a table and then you create a pivot table and your original data is never moved, it's never changed. So it remains intact. So this is, for example, this is my raw data and it's very large. It's about 1,000 points, over 1,000 points. And this is like a master. I don't want it to change anything, but I want to analyze, I want to compare it. I want to get extra information from it. So the best tool to use is a pivot table. And for example, this is an NBA performance of an NBA players, of all the NBA players who play in the 2016-17 season. So I have different information here, a lot of information and a lot of data points. And but for example, I want to find out, the questions I have is that having this, I want to find out if it's possible to find out where the key factors that made the winning team win. What was the thing that was so special about the winning team that it differentiates from other teams that were also very good? So I'm hoping that we can analyze that and get some answers by doing pivot tables. So the first thing is, the first pivot table is just to begin. So I'm going to click anywhere on the spreadsheet. I'm going to go to the Insert tab. And then I'm going to start with the recommended tables. So I can always change the recommended table. So I'm going to start with just a general. So I'm going to click recommended table. And then I get this little wizard. And that's going to help me start. And this might not be the information I want. So I'm going to just click the first one option, just so I have a head start, something to work with. So I'm going to click OK. Now we have a pivot table. So this is what we have. This is what is called a pivot table. And then on the right, you're going to have this panel that's how you build the pivot table. So it's the pivot table field, and it has all the fields you recognize here. It has all the fields that were on the original table, and your original table is still there. So if I go back, the original table is still intact. I haven't changed anything. So if you see these headers, they're going to show on this field. So on this box here, that has all the headers that are in the original table. Then you have on the right these boxes, these areas called filters, columns, rows, and values. You drag the way you want to build. So it depends what you want to do in your pivot table. So this is going to change. And the way you build it is you move the fields into the rows and values. So this is going to change, but your original data is not going to change. And that's what you want. You don't want to compromise your original table. So we have a lot of data and now we want to start analyzing. And the first thing is we're gonna do is what I think you put your hypothesis. So the hypothesis will be, well, maybe the tallest team, maybe height has to do with the best team. So maybe the hypothesis, the height had to do with the performance of the team. So let's work on that assumption. So I'm gonna rebuild this table. So I'm gonna go here to the row area, click on position, and I'm gonna drag it out. And then when it says values, I'm gonna also click on the field and I'm gonna drag it out. And now I have this pivot table that you see here that is empty. And I'm gonna rebuild it with what I think it is that I need. So I'm gonna rebuild it by trying to find if height has anything to do with it. So I'm going to put into rows the last name. So I'm gonna drag last name to rows. And you see the last names of players are start showing up in the column. And then I'm gonna put height in inches under values. And I'm gonna have a pivot table now that I built that each row contains the last name of the player and then it's counting the heights. So it's telling me how many people right now. Right now there are 2 people per last name. So right now it's not getting the data that I need. It's giving me counting. So how many people are with the last name Allen? How many are Anderson? And actually 2 of these and so on. So right now it's not giving me the height, like what is the height of each player. So anybody knows what is happening. Yeah, so you are right, totally right. So I showed you this so you get familiarized how pivot tables are gonna give you the first is how the default is set up. So the results, the default setup to count is gonna count. You have to change it because that's not what we want. Sometimes that's what we want, but sometimes it's not. So on top of putting data together, pivot tables is gonna do a calculation for you. So that's part of the analysis. So yes, that's right, how the gentleman explained. You're gonna go to the header where it says count of heights. And one way to do it, the way I'm gonna show you, you're gonna do right click on the mouse and then you're gonna get options. You're gonna get this window and you're gonna go where it says summarize values by. So we're gonna do sum. You have other options, but for now, we're just gonna do sum. And now it's adding. So what it is, if I go to the original table, I'm gonna go here, height in inches. So it's gonna give me this value. So if you have one player, a single player, like if I had this player, this is the only player with the last name Horford, it's just gonna give me 82. But if I have 2 players with the same last name, like let me sort this so we can find some players with the same last name, like Allen and Allen is gonna add their height because I'm categorizing by last name. So in the pivot table, it's just gonna add the 2 Allens, the heights in inches of the 2 Allens together. And so if I go back, the sum of heights, and then you see Adam is 84, but let's do Alan. So you see Alan is giving me a very high. So this not like we have a person of this statue. It's because there are two players named Alan. So we can differentiate either by putting a unique category, which could be a player ID, but let's put names. So I'm gonna add names to the row area. So when I add name, then I have another label that is going to categorize each one. So now I have the Alan, so I still have 157 for Alan, but now has these two categories. So I have an Lavoy Allen that the height is 81 inches, and I have a Tony Allen, which is the height 76 inches. And this total Allen here is 157. I can also flip the label, so I can put first name and last name. So I can just go to the rows and move the first name on the top, and then my table changes. But also first names are very common, so you'll have also the same problem. This is just to show you the simplest way of how to build a pivot table. Any questions so far before we move forward? We have this. We have it how we want it, and I'm gonna move the last name on top of the first name. And I'm gonna sort them. So I'm gonna take the for now, I'm gonna take the first name out. So I just it's a much simpler table and is less distraction. Now I have to sort it for the tallest to the bottom, to the smallest, because right now it's alphabetically sorted, but I just want to know what is the tallest. So I'm gonna go below the header. Don't go in the header, go below where the data is in the column that you want to sort. Right click and find sort, and then go largest to small. So that's one way to do it. And then you get this value. But again, remember, there might be a lot of Williams here. So this data is skew. So if we put the first name, then you're gonna see that, okay, the Williams seems like they are very tall. But it's not necessarily, because we have different people here with the same height. So that's one way to do it, but it's gonna be a little bit obscure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here, it says row labels. Click on the drop down here. And then we're gonna go to value filters. Then we're gonna choose the top 10 tallest. Top 10. And then I'm gonna get another window, and it's gonna say, okay, do you wanna do top 10? And I can modify it to 5 items. And then I'm gonna tell them what it is. So right now we only have one column. So it's only one choice. If I had different columns, I have more choice. So I'm gonna click OK. And now, let me see what happened here. Value top 10. Okay. And then we can add the name. Then I can add, since this is the inches, nobody says their height in inches, they say feet inches. I'm gonna move this label that has that information to the rows. And now I have this by each player. You can see it on there in a more legible way. So let me start this from the beginning because somebody said it was lukewarm. So I'm gonna build this again. So basically what I'm doing is reorganizing the data that is in this humongous spreadsheet so I can get information. So instead of me copying, pasting different columns here and making an analysis, I can just create a pivot table and make my own analysis. So for this one that I'm creating, on the rows, so if you move the last name to the rows, you're gonna get a column. So is there is the information is gonna be placed for each row. So that's why it's row, because I'm gonna get a value for each of these labels here. So I'm gonna get a value for Abrins, for AC, for Adams, and the value is gonna be height. So I'm gonna move the height to values, and then I'm gonna get, this is gonna be the default, it's gonna count how many values Abrins has. So Abrin has only one value because it's only one person, but Alan, there are two people, so it's gonna count two. Since that's not what we want to find the tallest. So I'm gonna go to the here, or you can go here too. You can go here, values. I mean, no, it's not gonna. I'm gonna add, that's what it is. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna do show, summarize by sum. So it's gonna be now the sum. Remember, Alan is two people, so it's adding the height for two people. For the rest, it's only adding, it's only showing me the height for that person. So then I'm gonna sort it. Oh, then I'm gonna have my height, and I'm gonna put it under last name. So now I have the heights here. Then I'm gonna go to this one, and I'm gonna choose the top 10 tallest person. So top 10 and the sum of heights. And I'm gonna click OK. And then I'm gonna sort this data by, right now it's not sorted. So you find like this person is, these people is not sorted. So remember that this is going by last name. So there are a lot of people with the same last name. So I'm gonna go inside below the header, right click, and I'm going to sort by largest to small. And we're gonna get better on this. This is just to show this is not the best one, but it's gonna work now. So now you have Williams has the, everybody has Williams. So the Williams right now is just giving me the tallest last name. So it seems like the people with the tallest last name is named Williams, but it's not the base data. So I'm gonna move the first name. And now it's getting a little better. And you can also play around with this. Maybe put high first. And then now we're getting somewhere, because now is the tallest one. Summarize, sort. So we're almost there, because there is something else we have to do, and it's done by filter. So you can spend here a lot of time, but it's still aggregating the data in a way that we can know, see which one is the tallest. So instead of putting the heights in the rows, I'm gonna put the height in the filter. So it's gonna add a filter. And I can do last name here. And then I can go here. So the filter here, the area is a filter, so you can add additional way to drill down your data. And then you can choose. So I'm gonna choose the tallest ones. So they have the option here. I'm gonna unclick on select all of them. And I'm just gonna select the tallest ones. So higher than 7 feet. So now we're narrowing down. We're narrowing down the players. So now I have everybody who is 7 feet. I can keep narrowing down. So I'm gonna go to the filter and then maybe do the two tallest ones, which is 2 inches, 3 inches. And now I'm getting almost there. So now this is a better chart than we had before, because you can actually see the individuals, the players that were the tallest, and not the aggregation of all the values. So, and I can go back here and just go and uncheck, and I just gonna get the tallest one. So I'm just gonna do the 7 feet 3 inches, and then it is. So now we have extracted from this data, this amount of data, only this information. So that's gonna be the tallest people in the NBA. You can select this, copy, and put it in an email. So you can put it on an email and send it to people, share it with others. You can also put it on a Word document, on a PowerPoint, or put it in another sheet. And that's that. Now you have saved your analysis, and you can go to the pivot table and click escape, click out, and it stops selected. So that's how you get one analysis, but this is not the only analysis. You can go and change it again and get another analysis. So can we move, any question about pivot table? Can we move to the next one? So I'm gonna show you one more example. So we are here on the pivot table that we created, and let's see if their height and performance are linked. So for this one, we're gonna go to the filter, check all. Then we're gonna remove the last name from the rows. Sometimes you have to remove the labels so they get reset. And then I'm gonna change the sum of the heights and inches to average. So I'm gonna click on the label, right click, summarize value by average. And then I'm gonna do the team rank. I'm gonna find the team rank, and I'm gonna put it in the rows. And I'm gonna take the last name too, the first name. And I'm gonna put team name. So I have in the rows, I have team rank and team name. And now I have an analysis where I have the first, the ranking. So the first, the winner, the second place, the third place, the fourth place, and then the average on height. And if I don't want to see all those decimals, I can just select the row, go home, general, and decrease the decimals. or put number. There it is, number, and then I'm going to decrease the decimals. So everything is consistent. So now I have the average, and I can sort by the tallest to the smallest. So I'm going to right click right below the header, sort, and I'm going to do largest to small. And now we see that the team with the highest average in height was placed 20. And now we have the Warriors, which were the first ones, have 80. And so we say, well, yes, there is some link between height and performance, but as you can see here, we have a lot of teams that had a high average, but they didn't win. They were actually very low. So there's still more or less no indication of what's going on. So we can go and filter by height. And let's do filter. Let's do the tallest player. And then we see these are the tallest players, and we're showing only, so we filter only the teams that have the tallest players. So the Cavaliers, the Pistons, the Knicks have the tallest players, and we find out the Cavaliers was the only one who did better. So having the tallest player in the team sometimes doesn't help. And then lastly, we can have um, um, we can have another column. You can have another column here, height and feet, and put the average. Oh no, height and feet right here. And then we can put an average too. So you can see these are all 7 feet. So all these players average 7 feet. So that's a better way to see it. And if you like the metric system, you can put it right here in the values, and also get change this to average, and then you get it in meters. So everybody has all these teams, all these had over 2 meters, or average is 2 meters. And they actually had the tallest players, but it seems like that didn't work out all the time. And then we can sort it by, we can sort this to smallest, sort, there it is. So now you have here the ranking, and you have what the average height was for the top 5 players, the top 6 players. And there is more things that you can drill. You can have more values here. And like in the spreadsheet, in the handout, I have other examples that you can do. You can compare players, and also you can find out who was the best player of the season by the way designing another pivot table.